Welcome to April's Weekly Wrangle, where we talk about industry news. I go over art that inspired me this month, and we just kind of talk about things that have been happening and keep you up to date on the latest and greatest. Now, typically I do this Wrangle live, so part of this is where you can ask me questions. It's a live Q&A, kind of a live chat sort of thing. But unfortunately, the streaming platform that I use, which is Restream, they just aired out, and well, after it aired out, it just didn't let me go live. So I don't know what's happening there. I'll look into it for next month. But for the time being, this is going to be a pre-recorded Wrangle. And well, let's just dive into some industry news. Like I said, go into some really cool artwork that I enjoyed this month and go from there. The first bit of industry news is that Modeler 2022 for Houdini has been released. And if you guys have never heard of Modeler, it's really a fantastic plugin for Houdini. It makes it so that Houdini is usable when it comes to destructive modeling. You see, Houdini kind of has this notorious history of being really terrible for just moving around vertices and edge loops and, just artistically engaging with the modeling process in a non-procedural way. And so the Modeler plugin basically fixes all of that. And well, for I think $100, this is truly one of the best plugins you can get for Houdini. In this particular release, the focus was on a new UI. And part of that UI is getting this semi-transparent view so that you can draw over the model and get an idea for what you want to do as far as retopology goes. So stuff like that was in this new release. This is probably one of the most amazing things. Your pen's double click in Modeler actually works. One of the things I complain about in Modeling 1 is how Houdini by default does not respect a double click from a tablet. So one of the many reasons why Modeler exists right here to fix things like that. But basically put, it's just got a lot of ease of use things that were thrown in there. If you guys haven't checked out this plugin yet, it's definitely worth your time, especially if you end up doing a lot of modeling or you're just tired of switching around programs. For the record, I'm not associated with Modeler. I know I just did a huge sale on it, but no, this is really just a plugin that I truly enjoy. All right, so here we go. Epic Games invests in 3D technology company MXR. MXR is a company that focuses on 3D scanning. So, founded in 2018, MXR has been focusing on reshaping the 3D asset creation process by utilizing 3D scanning. MXR states that its technology allows users to measure and exact real-world materials across a 3D object, which results in a photorealistic render when the asset is placed into a real-time engine. So it's just a 3D scanning tech company. What's interesting is that Unreal or Epic Games did not buy them out or anything like that. They just invested into the company, which means that they probably have some sort of partial share in that company. What usually happens though with Epic Games is that you'll see an article like this pop up, and then maybe like, I don't know, 6 months from now, we're probably going to see that they buy out MXR and incorporate that to what they do. But again, just another thing to keep in mind, Unreal Engine, Epic Games, they are absolutely killing it right now. And a lot of it has to do with these buyouts and the fact that they can just have amazing scanned models that you throw into Unreal Engine. Gosh, so much stuff goes into their ecosystem from things that they've bought out. They're an incredibly leveraged company, I think, because of that reason, because they just keep buying companies. But it really just goes to show that Unreal is, I think, in the lead over Unity for a lot of things because of stuff like this. There's also been a few updates with CG Forge lately. So With CG Forge Academy, there are more simple options for you guys to pick from. If you don't know about CG Forge Academy, it's basically a way for you to set up one-on-one video meetings with me so that I can help you achieve your Houdini goals. As I've said in my teaser trailer to all of this, what's amazing about CG Forge Academy is that it's better than what you get at workshops. It's better than what you get at college because you're getting individual attention. You see, a lot of times people have 30 students, 50 students, whatever, and they can't really give you the time you need to really push your goals where they need to go. So this is a fantastic service for anyone who's trying to really expedite and get down and just be serious with what they're trying to achieve with their goals. And it's also a really great service for professionals who want, let's say, an alternative approach to how you might do a project, or you want to talk about progressing your career in some kind of direction, and you want somebody that's a third party outside of your organization to talk to when it comes to these specific goals and aspirations that you may have. So that's all about CG Forge Academy. It's very affordable right now. A 45-minute session is $100, 90s is about $200, and if you want to apply for a 6-week mentorship, then you can do so right here. Also, if you go with a 4-month or a 12-month subscription, that also comes with a free session or multiple sessions with CG Forge Academy. So definitely check out that kind of stuff if it floats your boat. Anyway, moving on, Redshift 3.5 has also been released. What that features is a new renderer that enables running on the CPU. This also introduces Redshift standard material and offers AMD GPU support for Windows and Linux. I should say that that very last phrase there is something that's going to be happening in the future. So right now they're working on AMD integration with Redshift, but those are all pretty big deals for a lot of folks. So far, Redshift has suffered from the fact that it's only a GPU render. And if you're a studio that's built up a huge CPU farm, well, you can't use that CPU farm on a GPU renderer. So having this CPU support opens up doors for Redshift to work on CPU render farms. That might mean that in the future, you might see Redshift being integrated with more studios' workflows just because they have CPU farms that they want to use. And also, this could open the doors to an XPU option eventually when it comes to Redshift. Also, what happened here is that Redshift completely changed all of its shaders, or all of its shader settings here. So we have a new Redshift standard material. This is going to be really fun when I have to go back and change all my shading courses. But really nothing has changed dramatically here, just in terms of how the shader works. One thing I want folks to keep in mind is that when these shader changes happen, it's not like they've completely invented the wheel again. It's not like the technology or the theory behind how things shade in 3D has changed. But this new standard material is an upgrade. It features better roughness calculation, so better energy preservation. A lot of times when you bring up roughness, it will darken the object because it doesn't account for that energy preservation when light bounces off of the microfacets of the surface. But this is inspired by Autodesk's standard surface, and it's a layered material capable of approximating a wide variety of surface types and can simulate dynamic reflected lights. And speaking of Redshift, this week I had that moment where I had to ask myself, okay, am I going to keep teaching in Redshift? Am I going to keep going and using that for my renders? Because honestly, I would love to use Karma for everything, and I certainly could. But the question is, does Karma actually work as well when it comes to the final image quality, when it comes to the ease of use, and how quickly I can get something to look great? And I quickly found out that no, Karma is definitely not going to be that. I really want it to be. Like, I really want XPU to be awesome, and I really want to play the how-to game and not, constantly pick Redshift over Karma because it's a free render engine that everyone has. But I just found that there were so many things that were an epic struggle with Karma in comparison to Redshift, or in comparison to really any third-party render engine. So it's kind of like if you use Karma, you're kind of showing up to the race with a old beat-up Pinto, and then somebody over here has a 2022 Maserati that you're racing against. A lot of folks say that the tools don't matter, but it's kind of like that. It's kind of like, well, yeah, the tools do matter because, if you pick something that's not as good, you're showing up to the race with an old beat up car versus a brand new one. It really makes that kind of difference. If I want to apply a LUT, if I want to apply, let's say, some bloom to my image, if I want to incorporate aces properly, there's just a lot of little things like that, which is possible in Karma. But man, you really have to hack it just to get some of these basic things going. And that means that to get a render out, it just takes forever. Even just adding like materials and having a triplanar projection and having to go through Solaris with USD, it just becomes a huge hassle. And so anyway, I decided to go back with Redshift and continue on with that. But I just thought that I'd share my little experience this week. And I did some tests with Karma and I was like, yeah, it really is kind of a difference here. So anyway, that's my opinion about render engines. Moving on to more controversial things. Netflix is losing subscribers for the first time in 10 years. And by the way, this is kind of understating what happened this month, because if we take a look at their stock price, it tanked. Let's see here. If we go to the 5-day, it tanked by nearly 40% in 5 days. So, do keep in mind that these days stock prices are still in the stratosphere where they really shouldn't be. So when it tanks down like this, I kind of see it as it finding its value, like what it actually might be worth, versus this inflated price right here. Because, well, anyway, I won't get into that. But bottom line is that it tanked by 40%. And it tanked by 40% when they released this news that their subscribers were tailing off. Now, if we go take a look at some of the details here, what's interesting about this is that the number of subscribers of the streaming service fell by 200,000 in the first quarter of 2022. So it went from 221.84 million to 221.64 million, which is kind of crazy. Think about that for a second. It didn't go down by that much. It certainly did not go down by 40% of the subscribers. So it really just goes to show that the price you see in these public companies is absolutely outrageous. And it really has nothing to do with the fundamentals right now. If this had everything to do with the fundamentals, then you would expect that the share price would go down by some kind of amount that's similar to how many subscribers they lost. Because that would represent, the potential revenue that they're losing in the future. But anyway, I digress. It's really not about that. It's all about kind of a hype game here. Also, in January, the company raised its subscription price from $13.99 to $15.49 per month. I still think that doesn't matter. I don't think people mind paying $15 versus $14, basically. Some people do, sure, but I really don't think that's why it tanked 40%. I don't know why exactly it tanked 40%, but to me, that seems inconsequential, honestly. And then also, it's forecasting that in the coming quarter, the loss will also amount to another 2 million subscribers. The streaming giant warned investors that the revenue growth has slowed significantly. This is their explanation, due to increased competition in the market, geopolitical events, as well as an increase in the number of viewers who use other people's accounts. So anything but our fault. It has nothing to do with us. It has everything to do with someone else, right? That's typical corporate fluff there. Netflix co-CEO Reed Hastings also mentioned that the company is considering introducing a lower-cost ad-supported subscription plan. So next time you hear that Netflix is adding ads to its service, it's not technically lying. I mean, they're thinking about doing that, but just keep in mind that that's going to be a separate subscription at a cheaper price, according to what they're floating around. Still, I think the fact that they floated that around would just give people all the more reason to freak out and just give the media a frenzy to do what they do. But anyway, that's what's going on with Netflix. It's interesting, and I guess this has a lot of relevance to you and I, because if Netflix and other streaming companies dip way down, then that could mean a constricting budget for film and VFX. And so it's something to keep an eye on, something to kind of keep in your peripherals when Netflix, HBO, Hulu, when they start kind of struggling, that eventually has a whiplash into future job opportunities and just the industry as a whole. I still think that folks are going to be consuming a lot of media in general. I don't think that's going anywhere. In spite of all the economic woes and downturns that seem to be on the horizon. But anyway, that is just a bit of fun news for April. And speaking of things releasing in April, watch out, because I'm going to be releasing Modeling 1 in a couple days. The second version of Modeling 1. I decided to go back and redo the course. It is way, way better than the original course that I made. And this is truly going to be the ideal course for starting off with modeling in Houdini. I mean, we talk about, the pipeline considerations, what Houdini is good for in modeling, what it's not good for in modeling. We then, instead of going into all the vector math right away, we actually take more of a hands-on approach. So there's all kinds of exercises you guys can go through. As a matter of fact, if you guys want to download that exercise file for free, you just go to the Modeling 1 course page and you can download it right there. Try going through those exercises. Do you find challenges that you don't know how to solve? Do you find yourself hitting a wall when it comes to your knowledge of nodes that get used for modeling tasks inside of Houdini? Even if you're not using it for destructive modeling purposes, it's good to know the nodes so that you have more options available to you when you go to procedurally model something. So that is the kind of stuff we'll be taking a look at with Modeling 1. And also, what's amazing about this course is that as you go through every single exercise, there are going to be various nodes that are featured for that exercise. So as an example, we have this vase exercise. We have the curve, the resample, and the revolve SOP. So as you're learning, if you've never used the curve SOP or you've never explored the parameters on that node, just click on that link on the screen. It'll bring you to the Node Bible, which is what you get if you're a subscriber. And you have, it looks like, 15 minutes of me going through every single setting in a simplified way about the curve SOP. And what's amazing about the Node Bible is that this really makes it easier to learn what those nodes do versus just tinkering around with the parameters yourself and trying to interpret what the dev said inside the user docs. So it's really the ultimate experience if you guys are trying to understand more nodes and then turn around and apply that in a very practical way. So there you have it. If you're a subscriber right now, you should see most of this course is up already, and I will be doing the official launch in a couple days, which will be Wednesday. So that is that. All right, let's now shift gears to artist reviews. These folks are just some renders, some still images, some things I found this month that I found inspiring, that I thought were really cool. And I wanted to go through and share that with you guys. So first up here, this is by Michael Elton, who I think is from, what is it? Malaysia? Yeah, I think Malaysia. And so anyway, this is the render here that was made. Really, really cool. This was very popular. And what's pretty amazing is just how well this was instanced when this first came out. Amazing breakdown. It looks like there was a very clever way of adjusting the scattering of these clouds. From my understanding, what happened to get the scattering here is that it was faked based off of the view angle of the camera. So basically, as we approached the edges along here of these plumes, Michael had basically thinned out the density, and that kind of gave us this illusion of light bouncing around in those volumetric clouds. If you guys have ever rendered volumes, you'll totally know that bouncing lights, especially if you're using Karma or Mantra, takes forever. It'll take your render time from like 15 minutes to an hour, just like that. And even at an hour, probably very grainy. So anyway, really cool stuff here. I really enjoyed looking at this breakdown, this whole project. This was also in collaboration with Angela right here. So I believe she did the lighting for that. So anyway, really cool project. This here is real.xyz. It looks like this was just some cool mushroom stuff. You know, I think the whole mushroom theme has been popular lately with Houdini, but I'm down because mushrooms are weird and abstract and cool looking. So I enjoyed that as well. It was a really cool render. This is done by Magna Soma, and it combines two things that I really love. For one, I love bonsai trees. I think they're super cool and interesting. And I also love fluid simulations. And this takes the two of them and combines them together. So one thing I love about this, well, there's many things I love about this, but I love the concept for one. I love how, he basically took two things he liked, bonsai trees and fluid sims, and he found a way to combine them together. And if you're looking for inspiration on your own art projects, if you're looking for something to put on your demo reel, if you're looking for something that's different than just copying a tutorial, which I highly recommend you just go off on your own and make your own stuff, what you do is you just take two things that you love and you find a way to combine them together somehow. So maybe you like mushrooms and you like fluid sims. Great. How can you combine those two together? That will give you an idea for 100 different projects you can do that will explore that topic. Maybe you think that airplanes are cool and you want to combine that with ocean life. Take two things, combine them together, start bouncing off ideas. And that's how you end up with these interesting and unique renders that everyone loves. It sounds simple, but I mean, there's actually just a very few number of people who take that approach when they try to make an art project. And it's kind of, anyway, I think that it's a fantastic way to spark ideas of your own if you're looking for inspiration next month. Anyway, that's what's going on right there. This is the real Ian Frederick. I like this because it just goes to show that you don't have to do something that's technically fancy. There's really nothing super technically fancy about this, but it is a well-loved render just because it looks so cool. If you have good lighting, if you have an interesting concept, if you have, this is totally like NFT all over it. So, I'm not a big fan of NFTs, but hey, the bottom line is good lighting, good shading, and, a cool concept. It doesn't have to be technically difficult. People get in this mindset of trying to always find the most technically challenging thing to do and then brag about it, but that is not often what really serves your artwork the best. It's a lot of times it's just about finding something simple and just really working it well. And that's what's happening right here. Moving on, this is Wataru Akita. I think I said that right. Hopefully I did. But look at that explosion. Look at how awesome that is. I don't think, and this is in Unreal, I believe. But yeah, amazing, amazing sequence of, and the reason why I picked this out is just look at all the different phases of the explosion. All those different fast moving phases make an explosion feel really big and impactful. So I just love the artistic direction that was taken on here. Even if you're not going for a stylized route in an explosion, you could take this as inspiration on how an explosion progresses over time. And I would absolutely love to see somebody take these different phases of an explosion and make it work with a realistic pyro simulation. So not stylized, but realism, and just incorporate the same kind of phases of development. I think it would look so amazing. And anyway, if you guys are looking for pyro challenges, this is a fantastic artist to bounce off inspiration from. Here we have, what's his name? Glorb. I don't think this is even Houdini related, but I just loved this render. I love the concept. Glorb is such a cool little dude. He's got these little drool things coming down. Maybe that was actually Houdini. I don't know. But he's got his little upper jaw teeth right there. When you're looking for projects, try to find something you like, because if you like it, chances are other people like it too. And the Glorb is maybe a fantastic example of that. For all of you character effects artists, one idea if you're looking for a cool demo reel opportunity is to find, models like Glorb as an example and add in a little bit of Houdini magic. Get in contact with the ZBrush artist, say, hey, you know what? I want to add something to this. And then most likely, I'm sure the ZBrush artist would probably be down to work with you. And you could turn Glorb into maybe a magma Glorb, or you could turn them into an ice Glorb, something fun like that. So for, again, character artists, maybe give them a furry mohawk. I don't know. This is a cool route to go. It also gets you collaborating with other people, and that's always a plus too. So that is some fun inspiration there. This is done by Brucasa. This is the first render using Redshift for Houdini. No materials on the scene, just a simple lighting setup. Goes to show how much you can get away with just good lights and good models. This is by Chris Does CG. After a few months of tinkering away in the free time, he has finished a small animation about corals. Everything is procedural. So again, just take something you like and then spin off of it. I would again say that if he took this and mixed it with something else, it might make it a bit more interesting than just coral, but the project itself is really cool. And anyway, I'm not a hater at all on this. I think that this is a great way to study procedural modeling in Houdini, or a great way to just study modeling in Houdini because of all the weird shapes that coral has. But yeah, that is what's going on there. There's a couple more. Omid Gotbi made this one here called Emptiness. I thought this was cool. This is using volumetric particles in Houdini with the base model from 3ds Max, and it was rendered using Arnold. So just cool abstract business going on right there. And then this is by Cheyenne Ahmed Usman. And then this one had a cool story behind it. So this is from The Alchemist, the book The Alchemist, and it was inspired off of that. So again, notice how everyone's just taking something they like, something they find inspiring, and then bouncing off of it. That is really what making something artistic is all about. And that, my friends, about does it for today. Thanks for watching. Also, if you guys have any renders you'd like me to share for the next Wrangle, if you have any questions about what's new at CG Forge, don't be shy. Feel free to email me at tyler@cgforge.com. I always try to respond as quickly as I can. And again, be sure to take a look out for Modeling 1. It's really going to be a fantastic course, and I'm excited to share it with you all. All right, take care, and I'll see you next time.